Welcome to the final part of What If Raditz Arrived Early. Enjoy.
Hey Ross, sauce it up.
We jump back into a story with Goku flying with Raditz towards the direction of the Saiyans, with power levels of each at 4,000 to throw the Saiyans off. When they're flying, Goku would turn to Raditz as he would ask, what do they do to them? Should they spare them, humiliate them, kill them? Raditz would remain silent, not knowing the answers. He would turn to Kakarot and say, he doesn't know, but whatever happens, happens. They both would know that this battle wouldn't be a hard one since they're both boasting power levels of 9 million respectively each, with Raditz having about 30,000 in terms of power level over Goku, barely being above him. That said, this is when they would end up flying towards the direction of Vegeta and Nappa, who at this point with their scouters are able to sense two large energies going towards their direction. Vegeta and Nappa would both look towards each other before they would say, looks like they're finally here, as Goku and Raditz would land. Immediately, Goku would say, let's go take this somewhere else, guys. As Vegeta would say, dare ordering the prince around. I'll oblige, but just know, your death will not be a painless one. As, Goku would look at Vegeta and say, just come on. He would fly off towards the direction of like a plain area, and Vegeta would scoff before saying, this is far enough. As they would stop, and from here, Vegeta would say, well, it seems you've gotten a bit stronger since our last encounter. I'm honestly surprised that a low-laying scum like you guys could have even gotten this far. And from here, Nappa would say, haha, right Vegeta, these two have no hope of defeating the both of us. You're boasting a power level of at least 20,000 with me having 5,000. I could easily crush Raditz. As from here, Raditz would look at Goku as he would, kind of have a smirk on his face. And from here, Goku would then go on to pretty much aim his fingers towards the direction of Nappa's scouter as he blows it up and says, you know what? I want Frieza to hear this. It's about time somebody put an end to that tyrant. From here, Goku would look at Raditz and nod as Raditz begins to power up to their full power. They would begin powering up slowly, as Vegeta would say, what? And from here, the earth would begin shaking, as everybody, anybody who can sense ki at all is just sensing this insane power level coming off of Goku. But they're kind of used to it, seeing as they already know how powerful they are, and seeing as they knew that the Saiyans wouldn't be any problem for them, they're not worried. That said though, what would end up happening is Vegeta and Nappa would be terrified, and Vegeta's scouter would break as soon as it passes the level of like 20,000 or 50,000. I think that's respectable, right? Like, no, let's go like 100,000. It breaks after 100,000, right? When Vegeta sees this, he would say, there's just no way, as it pops in his face, and he would say, Kakarot, how did you? But Vegeta would pretty much look towards Raditz's direction and say, get so strong. And from here, Goku and Raditz would finish powering up as they would look at them and say, look, we don't want to kill you, but if you force us to have to do that, then we'll do it. Me, I kind of want a little bit of revenge. As, Goku would look at Raditz's direction and Raditz would already be on them, literally blitzing in front of Nappa and saying, here's payback for all the years of torment, you bastard. As he would punch him straight in the stomach, sending Nappa like hurling to the ground as he begins to throw up, and Nappa's like, damn you, Raditz. He would get up saying, yeah, as he throws a hit towards Raditz's direction. But it's at this moment that Goku would step in and catch his fist, grabbing Nappa by the arm and then breaking it. As Nappa would say, yeah, you damn low-class Saiyan, I'll kill you. As he rushes towards the direction of Goku, but Goku would simply go on to flick Nappa away, as Nappa would pretty much be laying in a crater where he's at the mercy of both Saiyans. And Vegeta, watching this all go down, would think to himself that he's not going to go down without a fight. He would power up a moon ball as he would shoot it up into the sky, and from here, Vegeta's power level would go up by 10 times, as Vegeta would start laughing in his Saiyan ape transformation state, being like, "Ha ha! I'm gonna beat you, Kakarot. I'll crush the both of you, myself." As he would say, the Prince of all Saiyans will be on top. He would begin trying to crush them, but he would pretty much go on to try to crush Raditz, but Raditz would stop the foot with nothing but one hand and say, "This is nothing to me," as he throws him over, and Vegeta would get toppled over onto a mountain. Vegeta at this point would be getting very desperate and say, "Well, if I can't kill you, then I'll just have to kill all of us," as he would proceed to charge up an insane blast saying, "I'll destroy this planet and everyone on it." But Goku would simply proceed to say that they truly haven't changed. Do they even deserve mercy? But he would think back to all the times that while Vegeta was rough with them, he never killed them. The Saiyan race is already small in numbers, and if he was to kill them, then they'd have nothing. So Goku would proceed to look toward Vegeta's direction as he blitzes in front of him before Vegeta can even finish powering up his blast. And Vegeta would be shocked as Goku would go on to punch Vegeta square in the jaw, sending him crashing into the mountain, completely unconscious. From here, Vegeta and Nappa would wake up in hospital beds as they're like, "What happened?" And from here, Goku and Raditz would be in front of them, with Vegeta saying, "It was real. How did you two get so strong? Answer me!" As, Vegeta and Goku would look at each other and say, "We trained, Vegeta. You never believed in that. It was always, I'm born powerful, so that's how things will stay. But did you ever consider the fact that potentially training could have given you gains like this? Maybe then you could have potentially have beaten Frieza." But Vegeta would simply grit his teeth after thinking to himself, "Frieza, he must be on his way here. Seeing the power level on his scouter, there's no way that bastard would have come this way. You've doomed us all." But Goku and Raditz would look at him and say, "Frieza, I'm almost sure we could take him ourselves. With both of our power levels, we should be able to destroy Frieza ourselves." And Vegeta would say, "Highly unlikely." But from here, he would proceed to look at Nappa's direction, which Nappa is pretty much still unconscious, seeing as he got a worse beating than even Vegeta. And Goku would say, "Don't worry, we're not going to beat the big oaf. He's already too old to do anything and too weak. You're the only one we really needed to spare, but Nappa, I spared him because of Kakarot. That said, me and Goku are going to go off to train to fight against Frieza when he finally arrives. You two can join us, if you promise not to destroy this planet or try to betray us. You get one chance, Vegeta. One chance. And if you do go on to betray us, we'll kill you on the spot." From here, Vegeta, having no choice, like it's either join them or die, would opt to join them. And so he and Nappa would both be given Senzu beans, as all four of them would go to the plains and begin training with each other, fighting against each other. And as we know in the original, in the Dragon Ball Super series, Whis said it best when he said that training with each other is the best way for Saiyans to get powerful. So I'm going to be tossing all of them a bone. I'm going to be saying that Vegeta and Nappa get pretty powerful, seeing as they're going to be having about 1.5 years. Now I'm going to say 1 year before Frieza's ship ends up going towards Earth. So they're going to be having an entire 1 year gap to train with each other and get accustomed to Earth. Vegeta and Nappa would end up staying at one of the random places that Goku has, and Vegeta during this 1 year would have ended up meeting Bulma. Why not? I mean, Vegeta, Bulma, it just works. Come on now, guys. That said, speaking of Bulma, have you guys seen that one picture that's been going around the internet where Bulma is kicked up? But a lot of you guys are down bad. Like, y'all are down bad. Like, it's trending. People, that picture is literally trending. People are probably doing who knows what with that picture, and it's just a great time to be alive, guys. I'm like, it's so weird. Okay, moving on. Anyways, though, like I said, everybody gets a lot more powerful. I'm going to be saying that since they have a whole entire year of training with each other day after day after day, with them trying to make Vegeta and Nappa be able to catch up towards their power level, so I'm going to be saying that Vegeta and Nappa would both boast power levels of Vegeta boasts a power level of now 1,000,000 like 500, and Nappa's going to be having a power level of, let's say, 800,000. Sounds reasonable. 800,000 sounds good. Raditz and Goku will both be boasting power levels of, let's say, Goku 15 million and Raditz, what's a random number I can think of? 15 million as well. Now I'm going to be saying 14.9 million. 14.9 million. So he's now the one that actually got surpassed by Goku, because, you know, I've made Goku be slightly weaker than Raditz every time, so why not toss Goku a bone for once? That said, eventually the 1-year gap would end up passing by, and the day would arrive where Frieza's ship would be in the atmosphere of the planet. The Z Fighters would end up sensing this, and the rest of them would be called, seeing as they know that minions are going to be arriving as well. So, while the Z Fighters end up fighting the minions, the main group would be fighting against Frieza. Now, Frieza would end up showing alone because he's too cocky and prideful to ask his father to come with him. Big mistake, Frieza. That said, when Frieza would inevitably land outside, he would say, "Hello, monkeys!" As he would say, "It's been quite a while since I've seen you two. Hope you're doing well." As, you know, he's being sarcastic as ever, and the group is simply saying, "Frieza, look, you have one chance to turn around." But Vegeta would say, "No mercy for Frieza. He put us under his tyranny for years, and I'm gonna be the one to end it all." He would then rush at Frieza's direction, powering up fully, as Frieza, being in his first form, would be completely thrown off guard by this. Vegeta would begin pummeling Frieza to a pulp, as Frieza would say, "Wait, Vegeta! I have more power! You can't beat me at my weakest state, could you? That's not a real victory. I'm pretty sure you and everybody else would want to see what I am capable of, right?" And Vegeta, being the cocky person he is, would say, "Fine, power up," giving Frieza just long enough to transform into his final state. Using about 2% of his power, he would begin to actually match up against Vegeta, as Vegeta is shocked at how much power Frieza was hiding. Not only that, but Goku and Raditz would also be shocked as well, thinking to themselves that Frieza's power is incredible. However, once Raditz and Goku would both realize that Vegeta is going to be fighting an uphill battle, they would all end up jumping in. And Frieza would begin turning things up a notch, actually beginning to match the power levels of both Vegeta, Raditz, Goku, and Nappa, who is present trying his hardest to defeat the Saiyans. To defeat Frieza. Frieza would kick Nappa away before then saying, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo," as he would blast a death beam straight through Nappa, killing him instantly. Vegeta would say, "Nappa, you idiot! You went ahead and got yourself killed." But from here, he would begin throwing more and more blows towards the direction of Frieza, trying his absolute hardest to fight against this tyrant. But Frieza would be utterly outclassing Vegeta, and Vegeta would have no cards to hold against this, because Frieza is just too powerful. At this point, he's completely outclassed. As we know, Frieza's full power, if he was to go into it, is 120 million. And him heavily holding back right now is going to be 20 million. So they are struggling like badly against Frieza, who is having a field day at the park, saying, "Vegeta, you all could have killed me had you not allowed me to transform to my final state." And Goku and Raditz, realizing this, would both be shocked, thinking to themselves that he's right. They could have killed him. Why? Why did they allow this to happen? They'd both be enraged, but eventually would jump back and proceed to say that they're not going to be beating him in this state. Goku would turn towards Vegeta and say, "Vegeta, make one now," as Vegeta would pretty much proceed to create a power ball and throw it up into the air, leading to the battlefield pretty much being evened out, if not toppled over. Because keep in mind, Goku and Raditz both boast power levels of 15 million. Times 10, after actually looking up what that would be, it actually ended up being 150 million. And it just so happens that Frieza's max power level on Namek, even when he uses buff state, was only a mere 120 million. So from here, realistically speaking, Goku potentially could be the only person needed to actually defeat Frieza in this version of events. But it's not even like that. See, what ends up happening is not only do we have Goku there, but we have Raditz present, who's pretty much like 145 million, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of power level. And then we have Vegeta, who I believe I had said it was like I don't even remember what his power level was, but just know he's pretty powerful in his own right. If all three of them were to gang up against Frieza, it simply would be a massacre. And that's exactly what happens. As soon as this happens, Vegeta pretty much proceeds to charge up a huge mouth beam, which would shoot straight at the direction of Frieza, catching him off guard as Frieza would try to repel the attack, but it'd be useless. From here, Raditz would come in and smash him down as Goku would jump into the air and land down on him. This is when Goku would pick him up and begin crushing Frieza in his hands as Frieza would scream for his life, begging, and Goku would let go. But it's at this moment that a weakened Frieza, who at this point just got clobbered by giant great apes with powers of 150 million, would pretty much proceed to come in and shoot an entire mouth beam straight at the direction of Frieza, saying, "Die!" as Frieza would get utterly annihilated. There was nothing Frieza was going to be able to do to counter this attack whatsoever. And I think that that's honestly the way that this battle would go. Following this, the Saiyans would look to see the Saiyan ship that, no, not Saiyan ship, but Frieza ship that Frieza had, and they would pretty much end up taking out all of the loose ends in terms of like the remaining Frieza warriors. So after that, where do we go from here? Well, if you guys do remember, Goku at this point should be about 21. In the normal Saiyan saga, Goku, I believe, was 23. And then he had like 1 year after that to like train, and then he had like another year to train on Yardrat, so he should have been about like 25 to 26. So from here, I'm going to be having a 5 to 6 year time skip. Don't really hold me to that, but just know it's going to be a little bit of a while. But ultimately, I'm going to be going with a 6 year time skip. And to say the least, the Z Warriors are going to be incredibly way more powerful than they were in the original. However, this also means that Dr. Gero's androids would have way more information. They never left the planet. Dr. Gero still has the information on Frieza. Frieza's father, King Cold, still would have ended up arriving on the planet. However, it's kind of a moot point because he would not be able to amount to anything. We saw what happened to Frieza, and with more time to train, the Warriors would have gotten way more powerful. This would not even be a fun battle to cover. It is essentially a wash, and peace just kind of continues. That said, Gero's androids this time would not even get access to the Super Saiyan transformation because in this version it simply doesn't happen. Nobody ends up accessing it, and Vegeta just claims that he is, well, the Super Saiyan. But realistically speaking, he's not. So eventually the day would have come during that time where Trunks would have arrived, warning Goku about the heart virus and telling him about everything that was to come. From there, Goku, having Raditz there with him to tell him to, kind of take the heart medicine, would, I think, have actually survived, because Raditz isn't the person who would just let his brother die, and he would definitely remember to remind him that, yo, your heart medicine, take it. So, yeah. And just so we're clear, this version of Trunks, when he arrives and ends up showing off Super Saiyan, being like, you guys don't have Super Saiyan, would actually end up giving the Z Warriors something to strive for. And even though I just said they don't get Super Saiyan, I realized that this is kind of something that I'm going to need a retcon, because plot twist, they're going to want the Super Saiyan after this. Oh my god, I'm so dumb. Anyways, I probably should have written this part of the script, seeing as I don't really do Dragon Ball, but I got lazy, guys, I'm sorry. Anyways, though, like I said, yeah, the group ends up actually learning Super Saiyan this time around, and so by the time that the androids actually end up arriving, it's a stomp. They have no information on the Super Saiyan whatsoever, because Dr. Gero pretty much stopped spying on them a couple of years prior to this. So when the androids inevitably come out, meaning Dr. Gero and Android 19, I believe, it's a stomp. Goku is fully healthy. Vegeta is there. Dr. Gero is stopped before the androids could even be let out. And so, what I believe ends up happening following this is that, well, the lab gets destroyed, Cell included. He's not able to return to a timeline with the androids. And when it comes to Future Cell, he doesn't have any androids to absorb. So that's kind of a moot point as well. So after this, we kind of just get into a huge time skip until the Majin Buu saga, which is literally going to be another 7-year time skip of nothing but peace. And we end up finding out that if Raditz would have actually ended up staying on Earth or coming to Earth early, they would be super extra prepared for many of the events that would have came to pass, because essentially all that Raditz does is make Goku more powerful early on, making the dynamic switch up a bit, because now the survival of Vegeta and Nappa ends up being a thing. And honestly, the group just changes up a bit in terms of like characters and like interactions, but that's really it. From here, after the 7 years would be over, I definitely believe that they would be able to break the ranks and achieve Super Saiyan 2. So by this point, what ends up essentially happening is that we just have the inclusion of Vegeta and Raditz into the story. Nappa would have ended up getting into his Saiyan old age by this point, and therefore would not really be too useful, because as soon as Saiyans age, it kind of becomes a problem for them. So Nappa is pretty much obsolete. Not really, he's still really powerful and still has Super Saiyan 2 and all that, but he's kind of the weakest one out of all of them. So when Majin Buu inevitably ends up arriving, things kind of change. That said, Gohan would still be a thing, and he would be a little younger than in the original, I think. Yeah, he would be a little younger than in the original, not to mention he doesn't even have his time in the time chamber. So he doesn't even end up going to school with Videl and doesn't even get bribed. That means that no tournament of, the world's strongest happens. And since all of them are able to spar with each other all the time, they all get way more powerful as time goes on. As I said before, training with other Saiyans is the most quick and efficient way to grow in power. So the story kind of just ends up getting to the point where Majin Buu arrives. Now, once Majin Buu arrives, what I see happening in the story would be that, well, Babidi ends up trying to take the energy from the Z Warriors, but it's not going to work. They're not all just grouped up in one place. And Spopovich and Spopovich and I don't know. Those guys get obliterated by any of the Saiyans that they try to absorb energy from. So from there, Majin Buu pretty much has nothing to rely on, and the Kais are actually arriving a little later than usual, and this kind of just leads to them not being early enough to stop them from destroying the two buff guys with the M's on their head. So they end up having to look for Babidi's ship on their own. They would find it, and from here, him not even having any energy and having to pretty much wait for the Z Warriors to fight against Dabura and the Yakon, I believe it was, and the guy who absorbed light, it's a stop. I cannot. Like, I was thinking, like, this series is probably one of the funnest ones to record when it comes to the early segments, because I was able to change the story so much. But once we get here, it all kind of stays the same. Everyone's just a little more powerful, and since everyone's just a little more powerful, it kind of just makes everything easier, I guess you could say, up until when we get to the God arc, which once we get to that point, everything is just the same pretty much, with the inclusion of Raditz. So yeah, that's the story, I guess. Please comment down below any other What If Dragon Ball suggestions you guys have, and it has been a pleasure to make this series. Like, trust me, next time I'm going to be thinking up of a series that actually can have more potential, and maybe switching things up a bit, I guess you could say. But that will be for another What If.